Welcome to Casual Chat with Brian Germain. Our guest today is Robet Kittila, who is an old friend of mine, an amazing human being, and I know you're just going to love him. He has recently created a brand new system for powered paragliding. Now, he's been teaching this stuff for a long, long time, but to make the leap from user to manufacturer is brave and scary and admirable, in my opinion. And his new unit is astounding. It really is groundbreaking. And this is why he sent us a little video ahead of time so that you can take a peek at it. Its first flight was just 2 weeks ago. And we join Robert now mid-conversation due to a slight technical glitch. And let's hear what he has to say about his new fantastic machine.
You could pull these strings and get a little, like a cushion on a carbon plate that would come up and go right under your thighs. So you'd have this incredibly comfortable lazy boy up in the air that would cradle you. And if you crashed, it wouldn't twist you. The impact would be distributed throughout your whole body instead of this.
Yeah.
And so 2 weeks ago, I flew it, and it turned out to be better than I ever hoped. So not only was it safer and more comfortable, but the manufacturing process will be a lot simpler because there's no frame. The carbon seat is the frame.
Yeah.
And then the motor plate is bolted to the carbon seat. So you get rid of the whole frame, and then you have a piece underneath that raises the seat off the ground that becomes like a crumple zone.
Right.
And then there are wheels. No powered paraglider, no paramotor has wheels. And would you buy a suitcase without wheels?
Yeah, there you go. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a paramotor weighs a lot more than a suitcase. So
it does. Yeah, 65 pounds or more in many cases, right? So
exactly.
What interests me about this whole thing, and you know, kind of what we're aiming for in this casual chat general topic, is the expansion of the human consciousness into creativity, into creative solutions against the natural resistance of fear and what I call the yeah but mind. Right? The yeah but says, who am I to design a better parachute, a better paraglider, a better nuclear reactor? You know, I'm just little old me. And yet, if people don't have enough of a sense of self and enough of a deliberate focus on bravery despite fear.
Well, you were a big inspiration to me because you designed the airlocks, which was completely revolutionary in parachute design. And I figured, well, if my buddy Brian can do it, you know, I can do it. And that was 10 years ago. And, you know, sleepless nights and countless thousands of dollars and a pile probably 10 feet high of bad prototypes get to where I am now. I mean, every day I question, you know, am I doing the right thing? There was fear. There's fear in every step. And I had nothing to go by. I couldn't copy anything on the market because to me it was all wrong. So I had to have a blank sheet of paper and start from scratch redesigning a paramotor. And that's scary.
It is scary. It's appropriately scary because it's actually a physical danger, which is in some ways more tangible because you can say, all right, let's take a step back. What do I need to do right now to improve the safety of this? I can ask those questions and focus on the details.
Right.
And for me, I mean, maybe you're the same way. You know, if I'm going to fly off of a mountain or jump out of a plane or anything like that, if I can get this laser beam focus on the details of the situation and use my logical mind and methodically go down that list.
Absolutely. And at first, it was scary, but the more work you put in, it becomes a spiritual thing. It becomes a very Zen thing, the whole design process, because at first you go, oh, I'm going to try this, and that failed. And then you go, oh my God, I'm going to try this. And by the sixth try, you're like, oh my God, what's this Zen thing? I'm failing, I'm failing, I'm failing. And then you step back and you realize each failure is a learning step.
Yeah.
You learned a shitload from those failures.
Yeah, exactly.
And those little steps that you failed in, later on, you can use those failures in other aspects of the design.
Yeah.
And it's after a while, you just go in, you go, and the design happens by itself.
Well, yeah, I think that's huge. What you hit on there is the idea that it doesn't have to be my ego that's being injured by the failure. This is not about me. This is about ideas expanding.
Exactly.
And I have to take the risks. And when I fail, I just say, good, I just learned where the path is not.
Exactly, yeah. I learned 20 ways not to design a paramotor.
Right, exactly. So far.
Exactly, but the hard thing is, now that I've got to this point, now I have to fine tune it to make it look completely obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the hard part,
Right.
It should look like people who have seen my design, they go, well, duh, of course it's supposed to look like that.
Well, the paramotor that you modified that I ended up flying in Longmont had those little, it was like rollerblade wheels or something on the back of it. It was like, well, duh, why do I need to carry the thing when I can just roll it? These are easy things to take a look at and go, well, of course that's the right way. But it takes a brave, sort of forward-thinking mind that everybody's capable of being to say, let's throw away assumptions. Let's not assume that everything is the way it should be, that it is the way that it could be in terms of its best form. It could be better.
Absolutely, and that takes a leap of faith, and I'm starting to grow a second layer of skin, because I'm going to do a video and introduce this whole thing, but then show all the steps that led to this design.
Yep.
And I'm going to face resistance like never before. Everybody, all the naysayers are going to jump on me with both feet, and I'm going to have to defend myself.
Yep.
And I'm ready for it, because I think what I've designed is the future of the sport.
Of course, yeah. I mean, if your pure idea is let's protect the pilot, that is your fundamental motivation, is let's make this sport, paragliding is actually safer than many of the extreme sports out there. But if you take a collapse down low, or you have a stall and spin in or something, you want to know that throwing a reserve is not your only hope.
Right.
Even if you throw a reserve inside of some of these fairly lightweight cages, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah, because you're not cocooned, and that's what the seat does. Is it cocoons you, and flying that thing, you feel like Superman up there, because you go, shit, nothing can harm me. You have this exoskeleton that's protecting you, and it gives you maybe too much confidence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can deal with that, right? Just like when people say, oh, I got my airlock canopy and it feels so good, I flew it into a thunderhead because I felt so confident. And I go, no, that's not what I made it for. I was trying to reduce your danger level in normal circumstances, not give you authority to put yourself in greater danger. But
Exactly.
We can deal with those risks, what's occurring to me right now is an idea that repeats for me, is that when I'm going into uncomfortable places, these novel places of creation, where uncertainty is stirring my fear and my question marks, should I move forward or not? If I have sort of pulling me forward this path of service that I'm actually trying to help, I'm actually trying to make the world a better place, that it's bigger than me, I get braver.
Absolutely. And I noticed in the design process, as soon as your ego goes in and you go, oh, this is going to show those guys failure right there. You have to, exactly what you say, this is to make the sport better.
Yeah.
And if this can help people stay safer and save backs from breaking, even if I save one back,
Yep.
the 10 years of gray hair and sleepless nights will be worth it.
Of course it will be. Yeah. One of the things that I try to remind teachers and leaders and designers is that if you can focus on your market, not just as a bunch of numbers, a number of potential sales or whatever, and go beyond it and look at the individuals. I love skydivers. I really love skydivers. The powered paragliding community, the rock climbing community, all of these adventure folks, and you extend that even further out. I love human beings, and that is, I think it's a unifying fundamental motivation that can push us forward into meaning.
Yeah, and you touched on something. It's not about the money. I mean, if somebody ends up buying this and, I team up with somebody to manufacture and I make back some of the money I put in, great.
Yep.
But the goal is not money. In fact, this country is obsessed with money.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody talks about money. You go to a coffee shop, people are talking, oh, this cost this cost that. I was in France for shoulder surgery from a paragliding accident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I talked to a bunch of French people while I was healing up. I'd go to cafes and sit and chat with the French. Yeah, the French don't talk about money. It's vulgar in France to talk about money.
Interesting.
And I thought that was really interesting. I just got back from Cuba. Same thing there. You do not talk about money.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But here, it's all about money.
Well, I think there's a lot of fear around money here, in the Wild West where there is no safety net. If you get hurt or you can't work or whatever, sometimes if you've been working for, a larger company, you can get some sort of support. But, getting old, getting pregnant, running out of money, you can be in big trouble in this country.
Yeah, but then again, when I met with the surgeon in France, who was going to operate on my arm and put together my muscles and tendons in my shoulder, we sat down and he said, okay, here, sign the contract, and it was one page and a few questions and I signed it. And I said, what about the liability thing? And he looked at me and he said, there are no guarantees in life.
Yeah.
And I said, good, let's do surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that attitude was so nice. The hospital was great. The nurses were great. They came in and they were singing and they were smiling. There was never this liability fear that, oh my God, I'm going to get sued if I do this and that. Didn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the surgeon, for your record,
mm-hmm.
didn't operate with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
The way people would perceive,
Yeah.
Drinking
a wine and smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. Not that. Well, it's interesting that when you talk about, the fear in America, because you've lived in a lot of different places, right?
Yes.
You were raised initially in Finland and you lived in España, right?
Spain, and I went to high school in Sweden and I was born in Japan. So
yeah, there you go. So you're more of a mutt than even I am. So would you say that Americans suffer from fear more than some other countries or most other countries?
Oh yeah, I would say so because of the whole money thing and the whole litigation system.
Mm-hmm.
There is fear everywhere to get sued. And I think that's going to be the downfall of this country, is this whole litigious society.
Mm-hmm.
In Europe, when I lived in Sweden and Finland, your word and a handshake was everything. Mm-hmm. In fact, I have a friend who worked for British Airways, and he was posted, they were supposed to move to Glasgow because they wanted him to have that as a headquarters. So he sent his wife to buy a house in Glasgow. So she went up and she found a beautiful little cottage, an old gentleman, Scottish gentleman, and they came to an agreement over a price, and she went back to London and everything was great. And they were getting ready to move, and the airline said, sorry, no, we made a mistake. You're staying here in London. And he goes, but we're going to buy a house, and we cut a deal with the Scottish guy. And they said, did you shake on it? And he asked his wife, and she said, yes, that's binding in court.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that I haven't given up on America. I haven't.
No, I haven't either.
But I've given up on the way things have been as the way to the future. I think that we need to be learning from other countries, not to say that we don't have some gems, because America does have some very specific, beautiful things that are serving the world, not just
absolutely.
But there's so much about this poverty mentality of lack, I notice, is kind of all pervasive, and it's not serving because it doesn't generate money. You know, when you feel like you're running out, you push money away. And when you feel like you're about to get attacked by terrorists, you see terrorists everywhere too.
I know, and I fault the media for that, because I mean, television, it's the money, it's stock market, the stocks are going up, you know, this and that, and the health insurance is costing this much, you know. And people go to college. I see it here at CU in Boulder. You know, they're going to become lawyers because lawyers can make lots of money and be miserable in their life. Confucius, very wise man, once said, "He who loves what he does never works a day in his life." And you can attest to that. I can attest to that. I do photography, I do video, I do product design. I ship these motor mounts all over the world to pilots, and that brings me tremendous happiness. I don't make a ton of money, but knowing that I'm shipping a product to pilots in Taiwan or in you know, Italy or Algiers, it brings me a certain happiness, because I know they're not happy with their product, and I'm sending something that's going to last for years, look great, have beautiful colors, and is going to serve them well for, you know, 5, 6, 7, maybe more, longer, you know,
Yeah, there it is.
So happiness is relative, and this chasing the almighty buck doesn't guarantee happiness at all.
No, it doesn't. And I'm realizing that I have spent some time in my life, a lot of it, sort of blaming and vilifying the media, blaming the movies, blaming the violent video games. And yes, I believe that has been the cause of so many of our woes in this world, the metastasis of the negative aspects of Western culture. But we have a buffer called choice, where we can turn it off. For instance, we can choose not to react. We can choose not to be played in this game of, I make you afraid, so you buy the thing that makes you feel safer. You know, I can have a little buffer where I take a step back from what I'm observing and not have you know, puppet strings over me. And everybody has that choice.
Yeah, and it's funny because my wife, Mindy, who we just got married, we decided Sunday is a no-tech day.
Yeah.
No computers, no phones. We turn everything off, and we go for walks, I go flying, whatever, but no technology. And it's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an organic component that needs to be nurtured. You know, the human being needs to be interacting with their environment, not through the interface of an electronic device, where you have your feet on the ground or your feet hanging in a harness, who cares? But you're out there in the world focusing on things that are real.
Yeah, and beautiful.
Yep. Well, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as a photographer, as a filmmaker, I mean, your eye for beauty is maybe more evolved than some.
Well, I think if you obsess on it for, you know, 30, 40 years, you kind of expand your vision and you start seeing things a little differently.
Yep.
And you certainly see through the media and advertising and, you know, pill sales on television and all that stuff. I mean, you just step back and go, this is complete bogus, you know?
Yeah.
And it is. It's the mighty dollar again, you know, just sell something to people, promise them whatever with a million side effects, as long as we can make our money.
Well, none of that works if and this is my firm belief, if people decide that their own happiness is based on their own choices, their own thoughts, what they give their attention to, and that creates this internal locus of control where you decide, I don't need anything outside myself. Even if I'm choosing to do something that maybe makes me feel better, like jump out of an airplane, I do feel great when I do it, but am I not capable of jumping out of an airplane in a bad mood and have a less great skydive? Sure, I'm capable of that. So it's still my choice to be happy, to look for beauty, to see the world in that way.
But jumping out of a plane is a great thing, because what we strive for, and like Buddhists strive for, and people in a meditative state strive for, is being in the moment.
Yeah.
And when you jump out of a plane, that minute you're free falling, or 40 seconds if you're head down, you are completely in the moment. And that's a spiritual thing.
It's this thing, right? You leave the airplane and you're absolutely focused.
That's right.
And not just on the one thing, but the surround simultaneously, right? The inside and the outside is all hyper aware.
Right. And that's the goal of meditation too, is to be totally aware and in the moment, right? You do a lot of meditation.
Yeah.
I live in Boulder. It's
it's required, there's like some sort of a law probably.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I think that it's all meditation if you're absolutely focused in a deliberate way towards clearing yourself and being in this present moment with a deeper awareness than where your mind would naturally go with the scatterbrain Western, multi-focus mind.
And I find that also when I'm doing really exciting photography, whether it's on location or in the studio, I'll turn on some music and I'll just go in there, and time will just fly by, and all of a sudden I have this great picture and I can't remember how I got it, but there it is.
Yeah.
It kind of took itself. Yes. Even though I'm arranging the light and the props and composition and all that, you time and space takes on a totally different meaning, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I didn't eat lunch, it's dinner time, it's dark outside, oh my God, what happened? And you find that editing videos too, it's get in the flow, and time and space takes on a whole different meaning, and it's wonderful. It's like a drug. It energizes you and gives you a high.
Yeah, it's like passion leading us, where the goal is to pursue beautiful things, like, the tricks of light, that's beautiful things. When I'm out in nature, pursuing that beauty. When I'm trying to create a video, where of course I give, full props to you for teaching me how to make movies, really, with our first collaboration of Vertical Journey.
Making a great cut.
Yeah.
That is seamless and it is bigger than both cuts individually. The meaning just is stronger, and then you put some music on it and it just like takes on a whole life of its own.
Yeah.
That's a huge high.
You just massage it and play with it and do it again and again and clear your mind again. What is it that I'm intending to do? Right?
Exactly.
Feeling that I'm aiming for, not what it is, what do I want it to be?
Exactly. And that's bigger than just putting the clips on a timeline. It's the big picture.
Yeah.
And that's very rewarding, I find, too.
It is. But it takes a certain kind of it's a choice. I think everybody's capable of this, to decide ahead of time that you're reaching for something a little bit better and bigger than the mundane. You're reaching to create something that is exceptional, that stands on its own, even after you're gone. Something that's really special.
You know what's funny is the other day I stumbled upon the 95 World Freefall Convention, which is like 20 years ago. And I watched it and it still kept my interest. I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a work of art. Yeah, it was. You did amazing. Now, you did more than one, correct, Quincy?
Yeah, I did 95 and 97, I think. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, the one that you did with the history of skydiving, Sir Thomas Baldwin, right?
Yes.
Do you remember working up to the final, this is what skydiving is today. I think it's nice to put things into perspective that way.
Right. And to me, the whole sport was brand new. I mean, I hadn't made a jump when I came to Quincy, and it was pouring. I remember driving up and going, what the hell am I doing here? I don't know anything about this sport. And then, you and Max Doretta and a few other people kind of introduced me to the sport. And so I had the blinders came off, and I had to capture everything and tell the story from a WUFO's perspective.
Yeah.
And of course, I made my first tandem jump at Quincy, and that opened the whole thing, and I became a jumper and so on and so forth. But
so it begins.
It was a great journey. I mean, the beginning of the journey was phenomenal.
Well, you already have the heart of a skydiver. I mean, I believe that there's a certain type of person that just naturally you can plug them into a kayak, on a snowboard. You can put them in any of these situations, and given the specific information that they need to kind of work that machine, they're going to get good at it pretty quickly. They're going to fit with it. It would be interesting to spend more time thinking about what that personality type is, and I believe anybody can sort of nurture those characteristics. But what is it about the adventure soul that makes one, I don't know, fit well with these things and not create more catastrophe, more fear, more problems?
Well, it started early for me. I mean, I remember at 13, we lived in Spain, and we went to Pamplona. My dad took the family to Pamplona to see the bullfights and the runnings of the bull and stuff. And I jumped in and went and ran with the bull at 13. And that was an adrenaline rush. And then I ended up, when I was like 15, 16, up to 19, I think I went 6 times to Pamplona and ran with my friends. And that will get your adrenaline going.
Well, and it makes me wonder if some of our viewers are not, of that mentality, would they not label you an adrenaline junkie? And would you accept that term? Or would you call it something different?
I think it's a very general statement. I think adventure seeker would probably be a better title, because that led to all kinds of, I still play hockey, which I consider an extreme sport, especially at my age, and snowboarding and skiing and surfing. I went to Hawaii like 15 times, surf trips. So and the thing is, then I came to Colorado and I didn't have my surfing, which was the biggest thing I missed. But as luck has it, I fell into skydiving and
snowboarding. I mean, I've ridden with you. I mean, you're the guy that taught me how to snowboard.
That's right.
And the way that you taught me was a sort of a very surfing way to think of it. The sort of surrender method of find your balance and lead with your weight and don't fight it and be graceful.
Right, flow with it.
Smooth, wide turns.
Yeah, which is surfing. And a lot of big wave surfers are snowboarders. Because it's the same kind of flow.
Yeah, and it's a way of life. I would add.
Totally.
Instead of struggling and doing it the hard way. And that's a scary thing for somebody that might be living in a cubicle. They do their job, and that's okay. There's a lot of skydivers that I meet that they make their money in a job that maybe they don't absolutely love, but then they apply it on the weekends. They apply that money to these passions. And that's a choice. It's okay. But if they want to make the leap, we call cutting away. into a life of passion that's fueled by meaning, not just jumping towards your responsibility, but jumping towards an inner responsibility towards a passion-driven life.
Right.
It's scary for many people,
but it's so rewarding when you do it. It's so rewarding because there again, you're doing what you love, and you're never working.
Yeah.
It's
But
designing
but
parachutes.
what do I do when I run out of money? They say, I got bills to pay. I got, a roof to keep over my head, they say.
You have to just trust. And that's another thing that's really hard is learning to trust. And being a freelancer, I never know where my next job is coming from. But at the end of the month, I always have money, and there's a little money left over to get some, gels and stuff to make some carbon part for my machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never really worried about it. Money is not important to me.
Yeah.
The joy I get is from creating beautiful things, whether it's photography, whether it's a video, whether it's a product that's going to help the sport, or whether it's making stupid little motor mounts.
Yeah, those little, you should show them. I think they're awesome. Yeah. With the disco colors. Awesome.
Yeah. Red colors, they're polyurethane, and they have a mechanical lock inside.
For his powered paragliding, so where the motor mounts to the framework.
Yeah, and it takes down normally the motors shake like this.
Yeah, knock your fillings loose. It's so
and it does this.
Yeah.
So it plus it lasts for years. You can pour gasoline on it, and it comes in orange and blue and red and all these beautiful colors. So you match it to your frame or your wing or your suit or whatever, and it becomes a fashion item.
Awesome. Well, you see, what I love is folks like you that are not afraid about the money issue, that have this trust in the way that somebody walking through the forest without a headlamp, sort of trusting that the ground's going to be under their feet. I will just keep moving and trust and pay attention to the details and have a bottomless pit of motivation to do whatever it takes to get to that next dollar. And it's not about the dollar anyway. The dollar is a means to a new experience.
Yeah.
I think that's an angle that needs to be shared.
But it can be very scary at first. It can be very scary to just change that mindset and trust that it's going to be there. And you do the best you can, no matter what job it is. Mm-hmm. And the money will be there. And, and then you have to do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, when it's a passion-driven life, everything you're doing is somewhere within that spectrum of what I want to do. It's just some things are maybe not quite as much fun. I mean, I love to sew, unless I have to sew 40 hours a week, and then I kind of want to skydive.
Yeah.
So I'm sewing parachutes, and so the whole thing has meaning.
Exactly.
The whole thing is this path of service, and I'm creating something that flies. I made your parachute. And then
Samurai number 2.
Yeah, Samurai number 2, and I've remade it. Since I changed the.
You still have to put that patch on that says number 2.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I have it here somewhere, don't I?
I know.
yeah. I'm gonna send that back. So, but yeah, I think that's the message I hope to get through here is the fear of going forward into a life that is a little bit uncertain, but it's a lot meaningful. But
it's also exciting because you don't know what's around the next corner.
Yeah.
And you have to embrace, just like you embrace the failures, you have to embrace the excitement of what's around the next corner. Yeah. And it can be something absolutely wonderful. And the more you trust it, the more wonderful it's going to be.
I think you hit something really big right there, which is that you can take a high adrenaline situation, a high risk situation, might be physical risk or otherwise, doesn't matter. And I can receive that as, oh, this is scary. Or I can say, wow, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Big difference. Because one of them makes me sort of paralyzed and uncreative. The other method is reaching forward with my energy into the ways in which I can make this better, where I can have guidance in terms of my choices, and I'm in the mood where I can hear my wisdom.
Right, and isn't our purpose here on Earth to learn and experience new things? To me, that's it, and every day is like, I wake up and I go, oh my God, what am I going to learn today? I can't wait to get to my studio and try putting this fuel thing on the paramotor and making it beautiful and lightweight and nice colors and see if it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know, it's exciting. And every day, probably the most exciting is when you take a, you know, here's a mold for a fuel bladder I made, you know, and you set it up with carbon and resin, and you do it the night before, and then you clamp it all together, and then you leave it, and then you go home and you have dinner and watch, you know, a hockey game on TV, and go to sleep. And then the next morning it's like breakfast. Oh my God, I got to go undo that mold and see how it looks. One of the most exciting things there is working with carbon, and creating parts.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the act of creation it's a holy act.
It is,
right?
It is a spiritual thing.
Nothing, and it gets drawn out of us through a need.
Yeah,
and I think that's big because people often, mostly it seems, receive need as that's a problem, and they end up getting stuck on the problem, complaining about the problem. All they talk about is the problem. Like, well, how about we talk about the solution? How about we talk about the alternative to what sucks?
Right.
Over here called what rocks, you know, and it doesn't exist yet. And it's not going to exist until we start talking about it and letting ourselves get passionate about it and change our emotions from this trapped place of, yeah, I did take a collapse and fall out of the sky and bust myself, but what can I do to not only make that not happen, but to fly where I feel more fearless and more joyful as a result of this creation.
Right. And that's where the airlocks came in.
Well, it's one of the things, but I mean, your new frame. Yeah, I mean, there's so many new possibilities. I mean, I've seen some, I saw an acro set that they did in Voss, Norway, where they did debag deployment of acro paragliders, did these wild sets. And then he went ahead and cut away and opened up what looked like a big 7-cell reserve from it was a direct bag static line deployment off his paraglider. Like, oh, instead of a junky round parachute for his paraglider, he has a real parachute.
Hey, that's what I want you to make. I want you to make me a base canopy reserve with a cutaway system.
It can be done. It definitely can be done. I mean, the 3-ring has to be upside down, and it gets a little bit weird, but it doesn't mean
that's your specialty right there.
Yeah, it definitely can be done. Absolutely.
Okay, because a round parachute is boring, and if I can buy a used like a 7-cell 220 base canopy, and we can pack it, or you know, I'll leave that to you. But
well, I don't know all of it yet, but that's the fun part. Is you go, all right, what's the need? What's the value of this satisfaction of this need? And in this case, I can flare for landing. I can steer this thing and avoid obstacles and
right, because the scariest thing is when you pull around is like you're going straight down. You can't steer that thing, and you know what if you get speared by a tree or something?
It's a valid fear, right? And so you can get stuck in that fear. Or you can, I mean, from right now, it's like, okay, well, I don't have a complicated system like that where I get to cut away and open a big square. So I can reduce my risks by learning how to fly well, by flying good products, by having a reserve that does work, but I'm not going to spend too much time dwelling on that. I'm going to pick my day. I'm going to have, good, pitch control, active pitch dampening, and be as smart as I can. But I mean, how do you deal? That's an important question we come back to on this show a lot is, how do you deal with the uncontrollable risk? Where you've done everything you could think of. And now I have to take off without fear. I got to leave the fear on the ground. Otherwise, I'm going to create the danger from my cognition and my vibe. How do you launch without fear anyway, knowing that there's still some danger?
No, fear is good because fear creates respect for the air, for gravity, for the ground. And I think it's important in these aerial sports to have that respect.
Yeah.
Or you're going to do stupid stuff and end up dead.
Yeah.
And you got to manage that fear.
Yeah.
And I think the more prepared and the more experience you have, the better you can manage that fear.
Sure. Yeah. I still think we have to make a choice and not pay attention to the mental loop of the movie of the crash, the possible crash. It's not really happening. So what am I really afraid of? I'm afraid of a possibility. And yet if I dwell on the possibility, I increase it, increase the likelihood of it.
Absolutely. Because you mentally make it real, and then it manifests itself in reality.
Somehow it does. Somehow it seems to do that. And so what comes to my mind when we talk about this is, yes, fear in a flash of awareness can be very beneficial for us. To me, it's the dwelling on it. 2 seconds of fear, okay. 20 seconds of fear, now it becomes a problem. 5 minutes of fear, walk away. You're about to walk into a trap that you've set for yourself.
Oh,
there goes the gravity. Look out for it.
Yeah, metal pieces flying.
Well, they say gravity is not just a good idea; it's the law.
On this planet.
On this planet, anyway. Yeah, it's true. Eh?
Okay.
I would love to have you back on here.
I'll come back.
Well, I mean, you're one of the most interesting people I've met. I'm trying to invite folks that I feel your perspective is a positive one.
Well, good. You know who you should talk to is my new stepson, Zach.
Yeah.
He's a downhill skater, pro downhill skater.
And he's making trucks, right? Really cool.
He's making trucks. He's the biggest manufacturer of bushings in the world, skateboard bushings. He makes wheels now, trucks, grip tape, and he has an incredible Instagram account with more followers than any longboard company. And he's brilliant. He started making bushings in his mom's kitchen when he was 16 and has a success story like no other. Never went to college.
Yeah.
And is traveling the world racing downhill.
I love it. Yeah, these fearless entrepreneurs taking on the new model, of our new economy, where through the computer and through these lots of, you can build a website and all these other things. You don't have to work for a big company. Some people will choose to, some people need to, but it's not absolutely the only path. And it is scary at first, but man, is it rewarding.
Oh yeah, and once you've tasted that freedom, you can never go back to working for anyone else.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk to Zach. He'd be a great addition for this show.
Absolutely. And if any of our listeners have ideas for guests that are, like Robert and like Omar Al-Hajlan, inspiring people who are positive, positive thinkers, that are visionaries, open-minded, cross-cultural communicators that can share an angle on the world that is very much needed in this time that is very dark for some. It's not dark for all, but it's one of the scariest times in history for lots of people.
Yeah, I've never seen this country as divided as it is now, and scared, and rightfully so. I mean, it's a scary time. It
is, but the fact that it is scary and potentially dangerous doesn't mean we have to get scared. It means we got to get down to work. We got to get down to business and the details and take on our own fear and then take on the problem after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I haven't given up on any of us.
Oh, no, I haven't either. To me, it's like Frank Zappa said. He put it nicely in the 60s. He said, politics is the entertainment arm of the military industrial complex. Yeah.
That's great.
And if you look at it from that perspective, it's much easier to stomach it.
I love it. Yep. And to add on top of that one, yes, and like Wavy Gravy said, if you don't have a sense of humor, it just isn't funny.
That's great.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. We'll be doing it again next Wednesday, so join us again for Casual Chat. I'm Brian Germain. Thank you all.
Thank you for having me.